We've recently been covering how to create consistent characters on this channel, particularly using tools that help you create characters with only one source image. And recently we've had a whole bunch of new tools released that specifically work on that, including ByteDance's Infinite U, DreamO, Tencent's Instant Character, as well as releases from MidJourney, Runway, and more. So for today's video, we're going to look at all of these different tools and we're going to evaluate how they perform in terms of character consistency, but also image quality, as some of these tools can produce really consistent images, but there's a degradation in image quality. So we obviously want to look at a good balance of the two. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So for most of the images that we're going to look at today, they've all been created using my AI image and video generation platform, Kaiju. You can see here, I've got some examples of the tests that I've been running to prepare for this video, and I put everything together in a presentation that makes it really easy to see what models are performing well and which ones are not. To test out these tools, I have two characters, this blonde over here on the right, and this redhead over here on the left. And I chose these two because I got a lot of comments previously that our blonde character here in the right is very reminiscent of the default Flux character. So to test out something that's a little bit more different, I also created a redheaded character over here, and we'll see how the tools compare with both types of characters. First, look at our redhead over here. On this page, we're looking at DreamO and ChatGPT, and I'm sure you're already forming an opinion right off the bat. I put the reference image over here on the left and some example outputs over here. So starting with DreamO, you can already see here that there are a lot of issues with the images, not just in terms of the consistency, but also in the image quality. Particularly here in the face, we've got a lot of weirdness happening out and blurring out, as well as just an overall low image quality. Now, I have tested out DreamO quite a bit since the last video, and I have found that DreamO does perform relatively well if the subject is considerably larger in the frame. So let's say portraits, waist-wise, and upwards. For this particular set of images, all of the prompts are the same, and we've got the character dressed up in an elaborate dress in a medieval castle. And so you can see here, it did a pretty good job with the outfit, but it got the hair, it got parts of the facial structure, but it's still just generally a relatively bad image. Now, I also tested out ChatGPT over here, as when the new image generator came out, a lot of people were raving about how good it was at consistent character transfer. However, I don't know if they changed anything or reduced it, but lately my tests have proven to be not very effective if the image has been uploaded to ChatGPT. Once again, we can see here that there are aspects of the character that do come through. You've got the red hair, you've got a few aspects of the facial structure, but it's really just taking the initial image as a suggestion and creating its own character. You can then iterate on this character on ChatGPT and it should still remain consistent. However, it defies the point with getting the original image through. I will say the image quality is pretty decent. This image over here on the left does have a little bit of blurriness, which I'm not too happy about. There's a loss of detail here in other parts of the image, which kind of gives it a painterly look. But this image over here on the left is substantially better. And while she does look a little bit closer to our source character, I still definitely see some differences. The eye color is not quite right. The lips are a little bit too plump, but the image quality is substantially better. There's a lot of detail that you can see over here in the dress, which does give ChatGPT a few points. Moving on, let's check out Infinite U and Instant Character. Infinite U, like DreamO, was released by ByteDance and Instant Character was released by Tencent. Both of them single image character tools. So for me, the clear winner here is definitely Infinite U. Instant Character did a pretty good job as well, but there is a loss in image quality, and I still think Infinite U does a better job of capturing the essence of the character. And in fact, if we zoom in over here, even though the hair color is slightly different, which, let's say that the character has dyed their hair, the facial aspects are really spot on. The eye color is great, the eyebrows are great, the entire facial structure and mouth area follows very, very consistently. And in here, with this other image where you've got a little bit of desaturation happening, I can definitely tell that it's the same character, just dressed up differently. Overall, image quality is also pretty good for both of these images. I don't see too many issues happening here. There's a little bit of artifacting maybe happening here, or maybe some weirdness here, but you got to really look for it and dive into it. And same thing here. The image quality is pretty decent overall. Could probably be better if we upscaled it, but overall, I don't really have too much to complain about. Okay, now as we have a look at instant character, you'll find a few interesting things happened here. First of all, like we said, the characters are relatively consistent, not as good as Infinite U. There is definitely a bit of change over here in the mouth structure of the character. This second image, I think, is a lot closer, but there is a little bit of degradation in the image quality. This suffers from the same issue that DreamO has, that when the subject is smaller in the frame, we do run into some issues. But I think this is just a general flux issue overall. However, what's really cool is you'll notice here that not only was the character transferred, but also the outfit. If you look here at the corset top that she's wearing, there's this little detailing that's over here that has actually been transferred over to this image and this image as well. It has a single strap, the choker, single strap, the choker. So although the character transfer is not perfect, the outfit transfer is very good. I'd say that in some ways, instant character outperformed Infinite U. Infinite U was really good at maintaining the character's face, but it ignored everything else and it came up with the character's new outfit. Whereas with instant character, I guess you could say it kind of followed the prompt. We don't know if these are both dresses. This actually looks like it's two pieces. And it is intricately detailed, so that did get transferred over while maintaining aspects of the original outfit. And once you've figured out the best consistent character tool for you and created your AI character or AI influencer, have you thought about how you're going to monetize them? That's where today's sponsor comes in, DFans. DFans is the only fan management platform you need. Privacy-focused, decentralized, and in their words, chill content policies, which might be the breath of fresh air you need considering the current state of civic AI. DFans allows you to build a community around your influencer, whether they're real or AI generated. Share posts, images, videos, and even content involving red hot chilies made available exclusively for paid subscribers. But here's the best part. DFans lets you go much further than just uploading content. Whether it's you as a real person or your AI-generated character, DFans can create a personality inside of their platform, allowing users to chat with an AI version of you or your AI-generated character 24/7 and in different languages. With DFans, you can give your AI character a personality. You can make them aloof, friendly, cutesy, meet, and here's the best part. You can even get your AI personality to help you sell your premium content and even drive subscriptions. And once it's set up, it runs forever for free. So let DFans focus on maximizing your revenue and you focus on creating content and driving traffic. If you're interested in checking out DFans, check out the link down in the description below. Using this link will give you a full free week with no platform fees. It's a great way to get started. And now, back to our regularly scheduled program, MidJourney. Now, MidJourney was both one of the more impressive results and also the most disappointing. A lot of hype came out when MidJourney released their Omni function or Omni model, which was supposed to be all about transferring character consistency. However, my results have been less than stellar. So I posted here two options, both with an Omni strength of 200. Omni strength is how you tell MidJourney how much of the character's identity you want to take. The default is 100. I pushed it up to 200 because when you kind of overdo it with these parameters as well, you can lose some image quality. If anybody has tested this out and has better results than what I've shown over here, please do let me know in the comment section below, as I'd love to hear what settings actually work really well. I also tested it out using the raw flag and the standard flag so we can see if one or the other gives better results. Starting with the raw flag at 200, let's have a look at the images. So this first one here is an okay start. Once again, we've got the hair right, we've got the detailing from the corset coming over here. The prompt follows through with it being an intricate outfit. We're in a medieval style castle or cathedral. It is two pieces, so they're going to lose 2 points for making it two pieces rather than a single dress. But I do like that the detailing was transferred over to the corset top. We've got the choker over as well, the single strap, we've got that outfit transfer as well. The hair looks very consistent, and generally the face is a pretty good match. I think the mouth structure is not quite there when you compare it to things like Infinite U, but it's a pretty good result overall. However, the rest of the images, I think, were a pretty big fail. Looking at this next one over here, we don't even see the character's face. We've got her here standing at the medieval castle with an intricate dress two-piece. I will give it a couple of points because this looks like it could be all one piece. But, you know, we have some strangeness happening here with the hands. The neck position is very awkward. The face doesn't look great quality. The hair color is not quite there. You know, she's wearing this jewelry on the back. So whatever points were gotten for following the prompt, they've been thrown out the window with overall bad image quality. Same thing with this image over here. We've got a decent outfit transfer, lost points because it looks like two pieces, and just major face disfiguration over here. And then the fourth image in the set is the nicest image, is the most aesthetic. I love the outfit over here. I will give it points for making it, even those two pieces, there is definitely a shared pattern between that. It's very intricate, so I'll give it points for that. No outfit transfer, but I'm happy with that. Followed the prompts, but this is totally a different character. Different hair color, different face entirely, and so we got absolutely no character transfer over there. I'm not sure if that's by design, but if MidJourney is going to give me 4 images per generation and I'm using the Omni character feature, I would expect that all 4 images are variations of the same character I'm transferring over, not give me 4 very different outputs on that character with only one of them being an accurate result. Now, I will say that the results were quite a bit closer with the standard flag, and we're going to have a look at that right now. So using the standard flag, again, we have a slightly better result, but once again, we've got that facial disfiguration. It is something that we do see with Flux when the subject is smaller in the image, but I still think Flux is doing a better job with the smaller characters than MidJourney is right now. And I used the latest MidJourney model. So lost points for image quality over here, lost points for making it 2 pieces. I am giving it points for doing the outfit transfer a little bit better. We've got the brocade over there, but overall, pretty mediocre results. And you have pretty much the same issue here. I will say the consistency is a lot better in this image. I could definitely think of this as a zoomed out image of this character over here. We've got the same top transfer, lost point because again, it looks like a separate skirt piece, but you know, we've got that lost image quality in the detailing over here. The hands are a little bit weird. So just general level of unhappiness overall. Now, this next one does get points again because this looks like an entire set. So I'll give it that. It does have a corset-like top. However, again, we've lost that character consistency. This looks like a different redheaded woman. I will say I did use the MidJourney upscaler here. And unfortunately, even with the upscaler, we are not getting that character consistency transferring over. And then the final image, once again, that looks like it could be her, but we just lose too much detail and too many issues for this image to be usable in any way. I will give it points because this does look like it could be a single dress, but overall, MidJourney has been pretty disappointing so far. Now, the final one we're going to look at is the Runway image generator, and this one actually impressed me quite a bit. So in case you don't know, Runway ML not only does video generation, but they also do image generation, and they have a consistent character generator. I actually have it implemented over here on Kaiju Gem, and what's really cool about it is you can add in not just one reference image, but up to 3 reference images. So you could put in a character, an object, a setting, or a background, and it'll put all of that together for you in an image with a pretty cinematic look and feel. And we can definitely see that in the reflected images over here. They do feel quite a bit cinematic. And I'm sure you could tell right off the bat just by looking at the images altogether, this is some really good character consistency, right? Both of these definitely look like they could be variants of this character. In both of these, the outfits do look like dresses. The pictures are not perfect. I still think that there's a couple of issues with them. Runway runs into the issue of the skin being a little bit too plasticky. There's still a few issues in the eyes and a small amount of artifacting, but when compared with MidJourney, this is miles ahead, right? We get the same issue over here where the face is looking a little plasticky, and in both of these, the facial expressions are not the best. However, we didn't really specify a facial expression in the prompt, so I'm not going to dock points for that. I'm sure that if we had put some facial expressions, we would be getting that expressed in the image. I will say that in both of these, the background looks more like a church than a castle, but it still has that medieval vibe, so I'm not going to dock points for that. So if we look at this tier list, this is where things stand after our first character. I would definitely put Infinite U up here in A to S tier. Right, I put it in S tier. Instant character, let's put it at A tier. Well, let's put it a B tier for now, just based on the results we've seen so far. MidJourney, absolute hot garbage. D tier, same thing with ChatGPT. DreamO is C tier, again, just because of the result we've seen so far. And Runway is A tier. So this is where I would see the current rankings just based on the first character. Let's see and look at our next character and see if that changes the rankings at all. So now moving on to our blonde character, we can see that some things are starting to change a little bit. Already off the bat, I can see a massive improvement on the DreamO image quality. As I mentioned earlier, the two examples that we saw before of the Redhead, the character was overly zoomed out, and that created a lot of loss in the image quality. We can see that here as well. This image here on the left, our character zoomed out a little bit more, and we can see that there's a bit of a drop in image quality. But the moment we zoom in even a little bit, this image is from the waist upwards, we can see a massive jump in quality. And I can definitely tell that this is the same character in both instances, especially over here on the right. When you zoom in a little bit, it's definitely this character over here on the left. In terms of image quality, I don't have too many things to complain about when you zoom in a little bit. Even over here on the right, beyond a little bit of drop in quality, there's no weirdness happening, no artifacting happening. It's just overall a pretty good image, except for the loss of detail over here. And same thing over here. Great quality overall, no weirdness in the hands. I'm pretty happy with this overall. So for me, that experience is going to push DreamO up into the B tier. Up into the B tier, and I would even push it up to the A tier. It is not as consistent as Runway or Infinite U. So we're going to leave it there at B, between B and A. Coming back here to ChatGPT, much like we experienced before, the image quality is pretty good. It's not amazing. I would say it's actually worse when compared to the images we saw of our Redhead. There's a little bit of fuzziness here on the character on the right. This one looks a little bit sharper, but neither of them really look like our primary character, which is the whole point of this exercise. So I'm not going to linger too much on it. The images are very aesthetic, which I will give it points for. But if it's not the character that we need, it's a pointless exercise. So ChatGPT will stay down here at D tier. Moving on, we've got Infinite U and Instant Character. And you'll see here, just right off the bat, that both of them performed phenomenally well. Instant Character captured the character very well. Infinite U does it even better. There's very little here that would tell me that it's not the same character, if not at all. Image quality is comparable to the original image. There's a little bit of fuzziness, but you could really just blame it on the type of lens that is used. Instant Character, again, really looks like the source image. There is a little bit of loss in image quality here. Even when you zoom in, it's not as crisp and as sharp as Infinite U. So it is losing points for that. But overall, it's a great image. See, here's the thing. I would say it's between A and B tier. I think based on what we've seen with the Redhead, it loses a little bit in the consistency. But the image quality is better than what I think you'd get on DreamO. So I'm going to leave it at B because I think the pluses and minuses put it at the same level as DreamO. Okay, next we've got MidJourney. Now, the good news is MidJourney did perform slightly better when compared to our Redhead, but still not enough to put it in the higher tiers. Now, I will say for all of these, the prompt was a lot simpler, right? This is woman standing in the snow, whereas in the other one, we did add in a setting, the castle, and the intricate outfit. So we were restricting the models a lot less. And as a result of that, MidJourney's images are a lot more zoomed in. And like with Flux and anything else, when you zoom into your character, you get a better image quality. However, I will also say that just for the purposes of this video, I did test it out with 100 and 200. Now, at 100, you can see here that the character kind of looks like our reference image, but also not. There's certain aspects here that kind of make you feel like it's someone else. It's like 80% there. The face is a little bit too wide when compared with this character. The blonde is a little bit off. The positioning of the mouth is a little bit off. So kind of looks like our character, but not. And that's something that I've experienced with MidJourney all throughout. Again, this is a very, very close example. And honestly, if we hadn't seen what we could do with Infinite U or Runway or some of the other examples, I would almost give it a pass. That when you compare MidJourney to what else is on the table, it's just not quite there yet, right? And then, this one again does look like a blonde lady, but it's someone completely different. The mouth structure is just completely not there. In this case, the face is a little too small to be that same character. And once again here, this lady just looks like she's somebody else entirely. I definitely see the influences, but there's just parts of the face that just don't line up. Again, this is why with the Redhead, I pushed up the character reference to 200. It does look closer, but again, something is just not quite there yet. It looks like it could be a sister or, a twin who had a different lifestyle, but just slightly off. This is probably one of those images where I'd say it's almost there. Maybe a younger or slightly thinner version of the character. The facial parts all look like they're in the right place. So maybe okay. So 1 out of 8 images so far is something I would consider possible. Right? This one again, it's almost there. Looks like it could be a sister. There's a little bit too much definition here on the face, which this character doesn't have. She has it slightly, but they've exaggerated it here a little bit too much. And that's kind of the thing with MidJourney, right? Is the images are all almost there, but they always look like they could be a sister or a relative or something, right? And to prove my point, when we come here and look at Runway, these are really good. This first image over here, it looks exactly like her. Like she literally just got up from this office meeting and went to the snow on the same day. And even the second image over here on the right, where her hair is slightly longer, I'd say it's not 100%, but it's still closer than the MidJourney images. The MidJourney images are all more aesthetic, right? So MidJourney wins out on the aesthetic quality. These images just have a certain aestheticness to them that's absolutely amazing, but the reference is not there. Now, with this character, the blonde, I did also want to test out LoRa's. I didn't get to do that with the Redhead, but I did get to do it with our blonde character. And I just wanted to compare how a LoRa works against all of these other references. If we have a look here at the LoRa's, like Infinite U, I think the characters are spot on. There's a few instances where it's not 100%, and that can probably be tweaked with better training or adjusting the parameters slightly, which you get a little bit more flexibility with the LoRa's. But with LoRa's, you also have the benefit of mixing it up with other LoRa's. And because the character is trained, you can put them in more unique situations and scenarios. Having said that, when you don't have the time or inclination to train a LoRa, some of these options are really good bets. Infinite U is fantastic, as is Instant Character. And in fact, I used Infinite U and Instant Character images to train this LoRa. And in case you're interested, I use this platform called PhotofusionAI.com, which basically allows you to create AI characters and create images with them using LoRa and Infinite U, Instant Character. You can track everything in one place. I started playing around with it. I think it's really fun to use. If you're interested, the link will be down below. But the reason I'm bringing this up is since we've been covering so many videos about how to put together consistent characters with all these tools, I recently came across another platform that focuses on monetizing those characters that you can create. So if you're interested in that, please do let me know in the comment section down below. I will be working on that for my next video, but I'd love to get some input on you guys on what you'd like to know more about when monetizing these characters. So to finish up the video, let's go back to our tier list, and based on what we've learned from our blonde character, does it make any changes to our tier list? Well, we need to add in LoRa, and I'm going to put LoRa at S tier along with Infinite U because it's the closest thing that we got to anything qualitative at the same level as Infinite U. And although I think Infinite U did a slightly better job, the flexibility LoRa gives it the points to put it up at the same tier as S tier. Runway sits down here because I still felt that the quality of the images from Infinite U was still better, but Runway is very close to S tier. DreamO and Instant Character, again, both very strong contenders, and Instant Character, both very strong contenders, and I would almost also put them at the A tier, except for the fact that they're just not as consistent. So you gotta run through more images and more versions to get quality results. However, they gain a lot of points from their flexibility. Instant Character has the ability to be paired up with style LoRa's, and it's really, really powerful at taking that single image character, a style LoRa, and transposing that identity. And you can see more of that in my Instant Character video. In fact, if you want to learn about more of these tools, I will link the videos or the playlist where I've compiled everything down in the description below if it's not appearing up here already. So please do check that out if you want to learn more. DreamO, on the other hand, is, again, B to A tier because what it loses in consistency, it gains in flexibility. Like Runway, you're able to submit more than one reference image. And what's really cool is you can make the reference image a style. So like with instant character, it can be a style LoRA where you transpose the identity to a style. It doesn't work as well as instant character, but where it is really powerful is taking objects like a product and mixing that up with your character or an outfit and putting that onto your character. So both of them have their pros and cons, and that's why they're kind of pushing B to A tier. Surprisingly, the two paid options, MidJourney and ChatGPT, are sitting at D tier. They perform the absolute worst with that character and identity transfer. Aesthetically, they're up there as some of the best, but for the sake of this video, they perform the worst. In fact, the best closed source model at this entire character identity transfer experience was Runway. And if you don't want to pay for a subscription to use Runway, I have it over on Kaiju, where you can use it for as little as $5. It's pay as you go. If you want to try it out, please do consider checking out Kaiju, as using it supports the channel. And that's pretty much it. What did you guys think? Do you guys agree or disagree with my ratings? If you had a different experience from what I've shown you here today, please do let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear more about it. Or even better, come by the Discord and let us all know. I'm trying to build a little community here where we can share ideas, news, thoughts on what's happening in the AI world. So if you're interested in being a part of that, please do come and check it out. It's also the easiest place to drop any questions about workflows that I'm releasing or any other AI tools. You can also check out whenever I release new RunPod templates up there. It's also the place where you can bring up any issues that you're having on Kaiju. Finally, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And if you really want to help us out, please do consider supporting me on Patreon or try out Kaiju. Both of those help support the channel financially, and it makes all the difference in helping me make more videos. I hope you guys found this helpful. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.